Sorry, I had the mic off. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to the Self-Knowledge Lectures. Today we have the lecture number 7 of the Phase A of the Self-Knowledge course, in which we are giving you totally free 50 lectures on the Phase A and 25 on the Phase B, with all the information and all the tools that you need in order to get to know yourself, in order to get to awaken your consciousness. Today we are going to study this very important topic. We are going to learn to protect ourselves through these 4 conjurations that you can see here. We are going to learn today the Belilin conjuration, the magic circle, the Jupiter conjuration, and the Pentalpha. Okay, and with these conjurations, we are going to learn to clean our environment energetically. Something very important, we are going to learn to protect our energy, and we are going to learn also how to be protected at every time, but also in the astral plane. So we can protect ourselves when we are consciously unfolded in the astral plane, or while practicing the conscious astral projection, and how to unmask false beings of light or false masters who can come to attack us or to try to give us to divert us in the astral plane. So as you can see, these conjurations are very, very important. If you have any question about the topic, you can leave your questions there in the chat. At the end of the explanation of this topic, we will be solving all the questions that you have. And well, sorry that I am here fixing something, and we are about to start. Okay, well, great. Let's start this lecture by talking about what a conjuration is and why is it like so important that we learn to protect ourselves. Okay, so what is a conjuration? It is like using the power of our energy through the word, and this word is going to be directed intentionally and with power to protect ourselves, to protect our energy, and to clean the place from all the negative entities or negative energies or negative forces that could be around us, or that could be there trying to steal our energy. So why is it like so important that we learn to protect ourselves? Well, when we decide to do this work of self-knowledge, of self-regeneration that we are like learning through these lectures, right? And this, when we take this journey towards the awakening of our consciousness, well, what happens is that we begin to charge ourselves with energy. Since when we begin the work of psychological death that we are learning, the work of eliminating all of our psychological defects, we begin to release energy and to save energy. And that energy that we are no longer going to extract from our body during our sexual practices, but that throughout the practice of the supersexuality that we are learning here, we are going now to make a wise use of this energy. We are going to start filling ourselves with this energy by joining sexually our partner, but not to reach orgasm and ejaculation, but to make this sexual energy ascend through our spine, which is the awakening of the Kundalini, right? And that energy will turn us into conscious beings, into powerful beings, because the power is in our energy, and especially in our sexual energy. And as we become energetically filled, we will find that they are these dark entities, these dark energies that deliberately want to try to steal our energy, because they internally, their own defects, know that their power is in the energy. And as they are not saving their own energy, they want to be like all the time trying to steal the energy from others. And for that reason, the White Lodge has left these protection tools. And well, who are the White Lodge? The beings who have already carried out this work of self-realization, 100% conscious masters who seek to help us in this process. So if we want to start awakening, we must learn to protect our energy, our available energy from those negative entities or Black Lodge, whose function is to keep humanity asleep. And we are going to learn to protect ourselves using these powerful tools that I am going to give you today. These conjurations are going to be, and this is important that you know, more and more effective as we fill ourselves with more and more energy because we are actually defending ourselves using our own inner power. And we are going to, as I was explaining, fill ourselves with more and more energy while we practice constantly the psychological death and the suprasexuality. If this is the first lecture that you see of this course, the previous one from 1 to the 6th are here recorded in the page where we explain about this psychological death process and suprasexuality. And well, another important thing to clarify is that these protection conjurations only serve to protect us, and they will never ever serve to attack anyone. So let's now learn this fourth protection conjuration. And the first two that we are going to see are the Song of the Belilin and the Magic Circle of Protection. The Belilin is a song. It's a song that helps to energetically cleanse the environment in which we find ourselves, especially when we go to sleep or when we are going to practice superior sex. Those are like the most important times when we need to yes use these conjurations, because when we are going to sleep, that we are going to leave our physical body laying down there and we are going to pass with our astral body to the fifth dimension. So we need to close that place where we are sleeping to leave our physical body, totally there protected, and so that no entity can come and cause, for example, that sleep paralysis and come trying to steal the sexual energy from our physical body. And when we are practicing super sex, it is very important that we protect ourselves, because there we are in this magical ritual in which we are moving this powerful sexual energy. And if we are not protected, well, these dark entities or black magicians or witches can come and try to make us have a sexual fall in order for them to feed on our sexual energy. So though it is very important that we make these two conjurations when going to sleep and when going to practice the super sex, but we can also use it every time that we are going to carry out any of the practices that are aimed at the awakening of our consciousness, like meditation, for example, etc. This song will eliminate from the environment, because this is like a mantric song, and will eliminate any larva or any negative energy that can prevent us from from staying, for example, concentrated during the practice that we are doing, or that can come to generate any sensation. Allow me just a second. Sorry, any sensation or any mental fixation, so that we cannot be concentrated, for example, during the sexual practice, and that we have a sexual fall. And well, we are going to avoid all of that by cleaning our place before doing the practice. This song will eliminate all those negative forces. And when singing this song, the Belilin, we need to be concentrated in our heart without being distracted by anything, without being distracted by any thought, and without doing any other activity. Just we concentrate in our hearts, and we are going to sing, imagining every word, the following lyrics. Belilin, 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 anchor of salvation, I would like to be close to you. Materialism has no power over me. Belilin, Belilin, Belilin. And we repeat this 3 more times. Belilin, 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 anchor of salvation, I would like to be close to you. Materialism has no power over me. Belilin, Belilin, Belilin. And again, 3 times we do this. And this is a very powerful chant. It drives away all the negative energies in the environment. If you have this psychic sensitivity, you can really feel how when you chant this song, the environment is like very, very clean, very like pure. And well, what does this lyrics means, right? For example, we have here the word Belilin. And actually, Belilin means tower of fire. And that tower of fire is actually our spine through which the sacred fire of the Kundalini rises when we do the work of the sexual alchemy. So this fire, which is our own sexual energy, our own power, will be the one that when we are concentrated will raise from this tower of fire and will come out of our hearts to cleanse the environment in which we find ourselves. And what does amphora of salvation mean? Well, an amphora is a container where water was formerly stored, and water internally in the astral plane represents our sexual energy. So this amphora of salvation actually represents our sexual gonads, where our waters of life are like contained. And as we have been learning, if we use wisely this sexual energy, we will save ourselves. And when we say, I would like to be close to you, we there ratify our decision not to waste this available energy, like never again. And materialism is like the entire force of the Black Lodge that doesn't want us to self-realize. And that constantly leads us to seek only material things, money, prestige, and to always seek like the sensory pleasure that will lead us to all the time be losing our energy and be losing our spirituality and to become more and more materialistic. And that is why we say in this song, materialism has no power over me. And that is the conjuration of the Belilin. And once we have cleaned the environment with this conjuration, we are going to close it by making the next conjuration, which is the magic circle of protection. And in doing so, we need to be the same, focused on our heart without being distracted by any thought and without doing any other activity, and imagining every word with confidence and strength. We are going to ask our inner being, my Father, my Lord, my God, I beg you, if it is your will, to command my elemental intercessor to leave my body and trace a magic circle of protection around this place, the place in which we find ourselves, to make it free from any evil forces. And right there, we imagine how our inner consciousness, our inner Father, commands the elemental intercessor, and we say, elemental intercessor, elemental intercessor, elemental intercessor. Do your work in the name of Christ, by the power of Christ, by the majesty of Christ. When we are talking here about Christ, we are talking about the fire of our consciousness. You know that it is a part of our inner being. We are not talking about a historical figure, okay? And there, when we do this request, we are going to chant the mantra S, like S, 3 times, while we imagine how our elemental intercessor, like close the perimeter or circle the perimeter of the place that we want to protect in a clockwise direction and with like a bright green light. And we are going to be chanting well, we imagine that this little angel, which is actually our guardian angel, is like making this bright green light circle, creating like a dome of light around us and around the place that we are protecting. Well, the elemental intercessor is a part of our inner being that has all the wisdom of nature. It is, as I was saying, also known as our guardian angel. And it is important here to note that when we are making this conjuration, we are going to ask our Father, who is the wisdom of our consciousness, to command the elemental intercessor, since the elemental intercessor doesn't obey us because we are full of ego, doesn't obey this personality. He obeys our consciousness. And we also must bear in mind that when we refer to this elemental intercessor, and we are doing this, we must imagine how he's tracing this circle of, for example, green like fire, okay? And because the imagination intentionally focused is what creates. And by doing these 2 conjurations, we will have a clean, closed, and prepared environment to do any practice. And also, it is very important to keep in mind not to go to sleep without having cleaned and closed our place, because that will help us a lot to avoid the sleep paralysis. This circle will protect us from any harm that someone wants to do to us, both physically and spiritually. And also, it is good to know that once the circle is created, it will only be broken if we or someone that is inside the circle leaves the circle. That way, we break the circle, and if we need to come back, we need to make the circle again. Okay, and well, those are the first 2 protection conjurations. The third conjuration that we are going to learn today is the conjuration of Jupiter, or Jupiter conjuration. This is a very, very, very powerful conjuration that will help us to defend ourselves from any direct attack, both physically and spiritually. For example, on the physical plane, we could be, let's say, in a dangerous situation where someone is somehow comes to harm us. At that moment, the correct thing to do is to say this protection conjuration to neutralize the defect acting on that person who is coming to hurt us. Okay? If we do this, we can say this mentally or verbally. We are going like to neutralize that. If you practice it, you're going to see how powerful is this conjuration. But let me tell you that this conjuration is especially useful in our inner world during the conscious astral projection, because once we are already astrally unfolded, we are going to see that some dark entities that can be of our own psychological defects, or that can be black magicians or witches, will try to attack us sometimes. And if we have these conjurations, we can make them fly away, for real. Sometimes these dark entities will try to impersonate beings of light, will try to impersonate consciousness, masters, ascended beings, to try to confuse us and divert us from our spiritual path by giving us wrong guidance. Okay, and if we do this conjuration to them, then we are going to unmask them. We are going to see their true face, and they will have to run away from this conjuration. Or other times they could try to appear with a very ugly, I don't know, appearance to try to scare us, and that way steal our emotional energy. Or they can come with a very hot or sexy appearance to try to seduce us and to try to make us have sex with them, and that to steal our sexual energy. So we have this nocturnal emission in order for them to steal our energy. So we are going to protect ourselves from all of that when we use this conjuration. And it is very important that if we are consciously unfolded, we conjure anyone who wants to come and give us a teaching in the astral. So that way we know if we are really receiving something that is coming from consciousness, or if that information comes from a black magician. Okay, because we need to know the black magicians can appear in dreams or in the astral plane like beings of light. Okay, so this is very important. And when we, if we are, for example, in this physical plane, following someone, some people follow some masters, or some religious guide, or some author, whoever you are receiving a teaching from, like me, for example, you can go to the astral plane. I mean, you have the right to go to the astral plane and invoke that person. You can call that person 3 times. Ask your inner being also to call him 3 times. And when that person comes, it is important that you make the conjuration towards that person. Why? Because that way you are going to see if that person is really a master, is really someone spiritual. If someone is a master, he needs to have the sword in the right hand. And if, for example, the person has a sword in the left hand, it is a black magician. If it doesn't have a sword at all, then you know that it is not a master, a spiritual master at all. And if they turn into, for example, I don't know, demons or whatever, then you can know what is the reality behind the appearance. Because here in the physical plane, we can appear to be saints, we can appear to be just love and wisdom, but the reality is inside, what we can investigate internally. Okay. And if, for example, you are conjuring that supposed master, and if when you start making this conjuration, the person starts like to become like angry, or that it starts like saying that you shouldn't do that to him because he's a master, or whatever. If that thing, he's trying to make you feel guilty or afraid, you need to know that it is not a master. Okay, if he really is a master, he's going to remain the same with the 3 Jupiter conjurations. When you say that 3 times, and it's going to even congratulate you for being cautious. Okay, and how do you do this protection prayer or a conjuration, which is the important thing? Well, when doing it, the same. We need to be focused on our heart, and we need to cover our solar plexus, which is the area around like the navel, with our left hand. Okay, and we are going to raise the right hand. This is my right hand, and we are going to raise the thumb, the index, and the middle fingers, and we are going to leave the ring and the little fingers closed, and we are going to say, imagining each word: in the name of Jupiter, Father of all gods, I conjure thee, te vigo scoslim. And we imagine, when we say te vigo scoslim, which is the mantra of the ray, we are going to imagine how this ray or lightning comes out from these fingers and are going towards that person that we are conjuring up. When we either repeat this conjuration, because we need to say it 3 times, okay, 2 more times for a total of 3 times. And there we are going to see the reaction. We can even see the rate, or the lightning going towards that person. In the name of Jupiter, father of all gods, I conjure thee, te vigo scosling. And a third time you say that. When we say I conjure thee, we are conjuring the psychological defect acting on the person. That means that we are not attacking the person itself, but we are like trying to discover the defect that is acting on that person that is trying to harm us or deceive us. So we'll see that if we are conjuring, and if it is a conscious being, it will remain silent, still, and intact. Otherwise, if it is something negative, it will change its aspect, it will be affected, or it will immediately disappear. Okay, so it's very important that we repeat these words. I know that te vigo scoslim is not something like very known, because it is actually a mantra, so you need to practice this. In the name of Jupiter, father of all gods, I conjure thee, te vigo scoslim, and you need to say it with power. And if you repeat that several times, you are going to memorize it, and once you are conscious in the astral plane, you can remember that. And well, you can use it, as I was saying, in the physical world when you are going to be attacked. For example, if you are going to receive an attack from a dog that wants to bite you, you can try that conjuration to see its power. Also, the Belilin conjuration, if you are consciously unfolded in the astral plane, you can sing the Belilin song, and you can experience by yourself how everything that is dark goes away, runs from the power of the Belilin song. And well, let's see the last protection prayer that we are going to learn today, which is the Pentalpha conjuration. This is a conjuration to protect ourselves, like daily. Every time that we are leaving our house, or when we leave the magic circle, we do the Pentalpha, and it is going to be a protection that we will carry with ourselves. And we will need to make this Pentalpha conjuration to perform certain movements or runes while pronouncing certain mantras. And with this, we are going to create in us energetically that powerful 5-pointed star or Pentalpha. Something that we must know is that we can do this protection by just doing the movements by just doing the movements, and by doing the movements while mentioning these mantras. Okay, and well, this is the Pentalpha conjuration. We are going to begin, as you can see here, by standing up with arms outstretched, the palms up, and the legs apart. And in that position, we say Klim, which is the first mantra. And there we raise our arms, palms together, above the head there, and we said Krishnaya. Then with the palms still together, we lower the arms until the wrist touches the top of the head, and we said Govindaya. And then we are going to touch our shoulders with the tips of our fingers, and we are going to say Gopihana. And then we are going to extend the arms out to the sides again, but now with the palms facing the floor, and we are going to say Vaya Vaya. And the last position that we are going to do is lowering our arms, the right arm crossing over the left arm, and we say Swaha. These mantras are names of self-realized masters like Krishna, like Govinda, like Gopihana, etc. Okay, and well, you need to also practice these mantras to learn them. But as I was saying, you can do this conjuration by only doing this like the runes, the positions. And with that runes, you are creating this Pentalpha. You are creating this 5-pointed star that is so powerful. And well, people, this has been today's conference. And well, this is a very important conference so that we start protecting ourselves, and we need to put them into practice every day to keep ourselves closed and protected, especially when doing the practices that we are learning in this course. And well, if you have any question, I am available all the times here in the page. And we are going to be posting these conjurations in the page during the week. So if you want to review these words, etc., we are going to be posting them there in the page. And I want to invite you to our next lecture that we are going to be starting the next week on Thursday. Yeah. And we are going to be talking in that lecture about the evolution process, the involution process, and the revolution of our consciousness. And in this lecture, we are going to talk about the different processes that our spark passes by in its passage through the different kingdoms of nature, in its process of evolution and involution. And we are going to learn how we can get out of this wheel of samsara, achieving the revolution of our consciousness. So don't miss that interesting lecture. And well, thank you very much for being here, and see you the next time. Ciao, ciao.